Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Igor Markevitch, the complete Deutsche Grammophon recordings. We've just done the Philips Decca box, and now that the Deutsche Grammophon box is out, all is right with the world, and the universe seems a happier and more benign place. Wouldn't you agree? This is such good stuff. I mean, there's very little we need to say other than to go through the box and say, just buy it now. Get it while you can. Australian Eloquence has done a lovely job. I mean, it's so nice. They make these nice-looking boxes that are attractive and sturdy. We get a decent booklet with notes by somebody who has half a brain. I mean, it's just so unusual and refreshing. But boy, is this good conducting and some fantastic repertoire, as always with Markevitch. And this time, instead of going through, I can open this up and take out its individual items. And as you can see, we have the original jacket concept here, more or less. It's this boring-looking one. It's a boring-looking one, yes. Anyway, it's not boring music. It's just a boring cover. Look at, blah. Anyway, most of them are Deutsche Grammophon type covers, and we're going to go through every single one of the discs and the contents thereof. But this time, I'm using the booklet because last time we did this, you will recall, I left some items out by going through the album covers because they were coupled differently to make sure all the little items were included. So that meant a couple things didn't get mentioned. And of course, you always pick up on these things and say, "Oh, you forgot to mention bleh." Well, you were right. I did. I didn't forget. I overlooked them. But anyway, let's not go there. Let's just talk about the music and get on with listening to it. So, disc number one, we have, oh my goodness, we have the Cherubini Requiem in D minor with the Czech Philharmonic. Yeah. And the Czech Philharmonic chorus. Oh my God, I mean, this is such a famous performance of a magnificent work. I mean, the Cherubini Requiems, there are two of them. One's in C minor, one's in D minor. And at this point, at this time in the universe, they tell us what year this was? Let me see. They probably do, and I can't see it because it's too small. But it doesn't really matter. The point is, back in those days, if you wanted to hear Cherubini's choral music, hello, Peepo, pardon me, my little kitty is here. You had a choice. You could listen to Toscanini doing the C minor Requiem or Markevitch doing the D minor Requiem. And that was a pretty good selection, given the fact that nobody knew these works at all. And they are wonderful. So, the D minor Requiem is a little bit more austere than the C minor Requiem. The C minor Requiem has the tam-tam crash, but that's okay. And then it's coupled with the Mozart Coronation Mass, which was a Markevitch specialty for reasons I have no idea. Nobody conducted it better. He did it twice. There's a mono one and a stereo one. This is the stereo one with the L'Amoureux Orchestra and Maria Stadter, Aurelia Dominguez, Ernst Haefliger, and Michel Roux. I've never been a big fan of the Coronation Mass. I really am not, except when Markevitch conducts it. He's just so smart and incisive and musical. And, it's wonderful. Okay, so disc one already should have you sold on this box. By the way, there are 21 CDs. 21 CDs. Disc two, a couple more Mozart symphonies. We get, symphonies 34 and 38, Prague, and the Hofner. Now, the first two are with the Berlin Philharmonic. The Hofner is with the L'Amoureux. I just love listening to the L'Amoureux Orchestra under Markevitch. So that wonderful French sound, which has disappeared. It's gone. And Gluck's Sinfonia in G major. I mean, a Gluck Sinfonia, that was Markevitch. He always tossed something interesting into the pot, something unexpected, and did it fabulously. That's the point. And then we get more Mozart. Let's see, the Bassoon Concerto with the L'Amoureux Orchestra and Maurice Alford, bassoonist. Haydn's Sinfonia Concertante, that wonderful, wonderful late work, also called Symphony 105 sometimes, for violin, cello, flute, and oboe, or oboe and bassoon, or what is it? Yeah, violin, cello, oboe, and bassoon, with the Lamoureux Orchestra soloist, the wind soloist. Oh, it's wonderful. Wonderful to hear. And then Cimarosa's Concerto for two flutes in G major. And let's see, Schubert's Symphony Number 3. How's that for an interesting collection? Now, some of this is with the Lamoureux, and the last, the Cimarosa and the Schubert, are with the Berlin Philharmonic. And then, oh my God, CD4. Oh, CD4. This is, I just look at this stuff and my heart goes pitter-pat. It really does. What the greatest disc of Beethoven overtures you'll ever hear in your life, with the Lamoureux Orchestra. And it's not just all the obvious ones. You get Egmont, Leonora Number 3, Fidelio, Coriolan, and also Namensfeier, which is really fun. It's a wonderful piece. And the Consecration of the House. Someday I'm going to do a talk just on the Consecration of the House. That is the greatest overture. It's fabulous. And this is one of its greatest ever performances. This was available as a separate disc for a while. It's been in various Markevitch boxes, other boxes. You gotta hear his Beethoven overtures. I mean, you already know his Beethoven is pretty fabulous. But the overtures, oh my God, unbelievable. The Consecration of the House. The Consecration of the House. Consecrate your house. It's to die for. It really is. Then we get some more Beethoven. We get the Eroica. This is with the Symphony of the Air. The Symphony of the Air was the NBC Symphony Orchestra after it was disbanded following Toscanini's death. And the Pastoral Symphony with Lamoureux. This is in mono. Some of these are mono. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The sound is fine. You won't have any problems. Brahms Symphony Number 1 with the Symphony of the Air, and Brahms Symphony Number 4 with Lamoureux, one of the great Brahms Symphony Number 4s. Absolutely fantastic. The first is very good too, don't get me wrong, but that fourth, oh my goodness, what an exciting, virile, passionate, incisive, slashing, gripping Brahms 4. Holy cow, incredible. Then we get Harold in Italy with the Berlin Philharmonic. Now, this one is controversial. I mean, Markevitch's Berlioz is generally just splendid. But this Harold in Italy has a huge cut in the finale. There's a big repeat, an internal repeat in the finale, and Markevitch cuts it out, but it's a big chunk of music. And so that makes the performance seem a lot quicker than it really is. Also, the recording in this case, it's mono again, is a little dim. I am not a fan of this Harold in Italy. I hate to say it. I mean, if you're going to want to have it, but it's not really a competitive Harold in Italy anymore. Then we have the Symphonie Fantastique, the stereo one. I think there are two of them in here, one with the Berlin Phil and one with Lamoureux. And this is the Lamoureux one. This is one of the great all-time Symphonie Fantastiques. Now, Markevitch was not the kind of conductor to go completely insane in the finale, the way Charles Munch did, all feverish excitement and hysteria. Markevitch is much, much cooler, much more precise, but it doesn't matter. It's still an absolutely fabulous, genuinely French-sounding Symphonie Fantastique, and it's coupled with Cherubini's Anacreon Overture and Auber's La Muette de Portici, that fabulous opera about a mute girl. It actually works. It happens to be a wonderful opera. It ends with Mount Vesuvius erupting and killing everybody. It's really a good piece. Then we have the Damnation of Faust. I did a separate talk on the Damnation of Faust where I mentioned the fact that this is the best damnation that you will ever hear, ever in the whole universe. There are two small cuts. It doesn't make any difference. It is so great. The soloists are fabulous. Who are they here again? It's Richard Verreau and Consuelo Rubio and Michel Roux and Pierre Mollet. It's just a wonderful, wonderful performance with a chorus that goes nuts in the scene in Pandemonium. They really, really sound like a chorus of demons. He gets them snarling and snapping, and the male chorus, they're going, has, wah, ha. They sound like my voice does now, kind of creaky. It's just fabulous, fabulous. Then we have Gounod's Second Symphony, and Bizet's Jeu d'Enfant, and Debussy's La Mer, and the best ever recording of the two dances for harp and orchestra, the Danse Sacrée, Danse Profane, with let's see, who's with Suzanne Colette, yeah, or Cotel, sorry, Colette Cotel, dyslexia. Suzanne Cotel with the Orchestre des Concerts L'Amoureux. Classic stuff. Absolutely. One of the great La Mers as well. It's so incredible. Okay, now we have a little duplication of repertoire. CD 13. We'll see how quickly we're just blazing through this thing. The Russian Easter Overture by Rimsky, the May Night Overture, the greatest ever Le Coq d'Or Suite, or one of the greatest ever. Borodin in the Steppes of Central Asia, Lyudov, the Fragment from the Apocalypse. Oh, is that fun? Tiny little thing. It is a fragment. 6 minutes of Apocalypse, but 6 minutes is better than no minutes. And Glinka's Roussel and Ludmila. This is again with the L'Amoureux, and oh wow. Now the Russian Easter Overture he redid, and the remake is even better because it's with the Concertgebouw, and that's in the Philips Decca box. He just did it great. I mean, no matter what he did, it was just wonderful in this performance. But these are such wonderful performances of colorful, exciting music with tangy, fresh, bright timbres and snappy. You know how he conducts by now. Snappy rhythm, wonderful. I keep saying wonderful. I mean, I've run out of adjectives. It's the truth. I've just run out, so maybe we should just go through this and I should talk less. Tchaikovsky's Poetic Symphony with the Berlin Philharmonic. This is some of the mono stuff. And Francesca de Rimini, yes, with L'Amoureux. Now, the Francesca is really hot. The Poetic is very good. That's a mono one. He remade it with the London Symphony in stereo. His Tchaikovsky was always fabulous, so you don't have to worry about the performance. It's interesting to note that the Berlin Philharmonic at this point in its history, this was the mid-50s. This was right at the time. Let me see what the date was on this thing. It does actually give it to 54, Symphony number 6, 53, 54. This is right at the point when Furtwängler was dying or died, and before Karajan had taken over, and the Berlin Philharmonic was in this sort of in-between twilight zone. And it's interesting to note that when you listen to these things comparatively, you will hear the L'Amoureux Orchestra was a much better orchestra than the Berlin Philharmonic at some points in some repertoire in the late 50s and the mid-50s. But the Berlin Philharmonic was in a transitional phase. And so it's interesting to hear how Markevitch sort of whipped him into shape to do all this music, because what did people know from the Berlin Philharmonic? I mean, he's got them doing all kinds of interesting repertoire, and it's just fantastic to hear them, to compare, for example, the Furtwängler 38 Poetic, which is kind of slug. I mean, everyone loves it, but I mean, it's not all that great to this one. And, because they're close together, and you can hear really how different conductors made the orchestra respond. It's very, very, very interesting. Then we've got, a Wagner disc. Lohengrin Prelude Stacked 1 and 3, the Tannhäuser Overture with L'Amoureux, the Venusberg Bacchanal, the Siegfried Idyll, let's see, and the Ride of the Valkyries. So that's with the Berlin Phil. And again, it's wonderful to hear the contrast between the two orchestras, which is not always to the advantage of the German orchestra. And there's nothing quite like French Wagner. I talked about that when I mentioned, the Decca recording of Schubert doing Wagner excerpts with the Paris Conservatory Orchestra. I mean, you realize that Wagner was, as Ned Rorem always contended, he was really a French composer. No question about it. Oh, yes. CD 16, one of Markevitch's most famous recordings, Mio le Théophore, and then, which is just vicious and exciting for speakers and screamers and percussionists. It's just so much fun. And Honegger's Fifth Symphony, the only version of this that compared with the Munch recording, which was also in mono, by the way, and in stereo with L'Amoureux, Bacchus and Ariane, Suite number 2. This was the recording so many of us learned the work from. I mean, it really, I wish I wish Markevitch had been around to do more Roussel. He was perfect for Roussel, because Roussel is that spiky neoclassical, rhythmically driven, orchestrally kind of thick that needs some clarification of texture. Markevitch was just the guy for this kind of stuff. CD 17. Here's the Mono Symphony Fantastique with the Berlin Phil. No comparison to the Lamoureux recording, not really. I mean, let's be fair. And Mussorgsky's Pictures in an Exhibition, also with the Berlin Phil. Now, if you want to hear a great Pictures in an Exhibition with Markevitch, the one to get is his Gewandhaus recording on Berlin Classics in wonderful stereo. That's really the one to get, let's face it. But this Berlin Phil one is, well, interesting. Let's just say it's interesting to hear them again do music that at the time was not in their wheelhouse, and he makes them play it. He really does. CD 18. Berwald. Who was doing Berwald? This is also with the Berlin Phil. Symphonies 3 and 4 and Schubert's Fourth, the tragic. This Berwald disc has always been a classic, a reference recording for both works. They were as good as unknown when Markevitch did them. These performances are as good as any. They are splendid, absolutely splendid, especially the Singulière, Symphony No. 3, which is one of the great, still misjudged, unknown 19th century quasi-romantic symphonies. It's just a great work. And this was a great performance of it. It sounds quite good. It really does. And then we get CDs 19 and 20, which I think are almost the end. Yes. Haydn, The Creation. This is in mono. This is with the Berlin Phil, with Irmgard Seefried, Richard Holm, and Kim Borg. Haydn, yes. 2 discs worth of Haydn. It's fabulous. And here's also the mono Mozart Coronation Mass. The second recording. I don't know anybody who did 2 coronation masses. It's really fascinating. Markevitch obviously had an affinity for the work. And so you've got 2 of them to compare. And finally, CD 21, one of the best ever recordings of anything in the history of the universe. Gounod's St. Cecilia Mass. Oh my God, it's wonderful. It's got that incredible credo that has the boogie-woogie bass line. It sounds like a Beatles tune. Credo in unum Deum. The bass is going bo, 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 bo. And this performance is amazing. It's about half the speed of the French recordings of it that came later. They're all much faster and much lighter, and this one sounds so much better. It's so right, because Markevitch he hammers the rhythm, and he just punches out the bass line, and gives it that pop music feel, which, of course, Gounod would not have known was coming. But we do now, and it just makes it, oh my God, it's a great performance. And it's in stereo, and it's with the Czech Phil, and the Czech Phil chorus. Gosh, it's fantastic. And then the end, we get a short interview in English with Martin Buxban, the old WQXR interview live at Lincoln Center guy. And he interviews Markevitch in English, little snippets about his career. Very, very interesting. And that, my friends, is 21 discs of magnificent music making that you simply need to have. It's all together, all in one place. It's not spread out all over. It's not recoupled in strange ways. It's not going in and out of print every 5 minutes. Of course, this could go out of print in 5 minutes, because I know that every serious record collector is going to want it. So get it while you can. Go for it. This was one of the smartest things that Australian eloquence ever did, and they did it right, and they did it with care and with love, and it's just you sleep with it under your pillow. I'm telling you, you're going to love it that much. So keep on listening, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.